What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video on parkour and tricking. Today's trick, we're going to be learning the back handspring. So stay tuned because I'm super excited to give you guys a couple tricks and tips to make this almost difficult trick so much easier for you. Stay tuned. Now, before we start anything with these back handsprings, we want to make sure that we are properly warmed up and, more importantly, properly stretched out. Follow me down here and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Now, before beginning any exercise that includes moving on your hands, you want to make sure that your wrists are properly stretched out. So go ahead and lay your wrists flat on the ground. This is my preferred method. You can do a method that you prefer, but this is my preferred method. I will stretch my fingers out across the ground and I will lean forward onto my hands and I will lean backwards and forward. After I feel a good stretch with that, I will turn my hands sideways and I'll stretch side to side and rotate around just so that I can feel the stretch from different angles. Point my hands backwards and sit backwards. Point my hands on top to get the top of the wrist that I just stretched. That way it doesn't feel too strenuous. Roll your hands in circles, shake them out, and let's move on to the next stretch. The next stretch is gonna be the back bend. This is where we're gonna lean backwards onto our hands and our feet and push up into a bridge. Let me go ahead and give you an example. Feet down as close together as possible. Hands up and behind my head. And on the count of 3, I'm going to push up into a back bend, making my legs straight and having all of the weight, or as much as possible, on my shoulders. 1, 2, 3. Be sure to put the weight on your shoulder to prevent injury in your wrists. Now, once you have finished stretching out, which I know you did because that's the most important part, we're going to jump right into these back handsprings. Guys, let's go over a couple of form tips before we even begin to jump into the back handspring. Things that you have to know before you go. Know before you go. Tip number 1, your arms and your legs should always be flexed and tight. Arms are right next to your ears. If I was to come around and push your hands down, your hands should not be able to bend, but they should be able to stay straight and to stay tight. Your legs, the same. Your legs should not be bent. As you can see, I have straight legs. As long as my legs are straight, I will not have bent legs. Weird how that works. Straight legs equals straight legs. Okay, help me understand. Now, with our arms up and our legs straight, one thing we want to practice doing is sitting down and standing up. When you sit down, do not sit all the way to the ground. There is no way you're going to be able to do a back handspring from this position. At least not a pretty one. Make sure when you sit down that you bend down 45 degrees and you lean backwards. All right? Another important tip, your knees should never, ever, ever, ever go in front of your toes. If I was to do a back handspring like this, it'll go forward and it will look ugly and I will probably hurt myself. And I hate doing that. So when I'm going to do my sit, I'm going to sit down, lean backwards, and make sure that my toes and make sure that my knees are behind my toes. Just a quick tidbit. Tumbling, gymnastics, parkour, it's an angle game. An angle with your body is what I'm saying. If I was going to do a back handspring and I'm leaning backwards, I do not want to be standing straight up because if I stand straight up, I'm not going to be going backwards. When I do a back handspring, I want to be leaning backwards because if I lean backwards, I go backwards. When I'm doing a backflip, I want to be standing almost straight up but leaning a tiny bit backwards. Back tuck, back flip, back handspring. It's an angle game. If you're jumping backwards for a back tuck, only lean back a little bit. If you're jumping for a back handspring, lean back more. Front tuck, front handspring. Webster, okay? Think about it. All of these different tricks, it's about the angles. So remember for that back handspring to lean backwards, keeping your knees behind your toes. Now going back to our tips, we have our arms up, we have our legs together. We're sitting down and we're going backwards. When you're jumping though, I need you to follow all the way through. I need you to make sure that when you're down, you follow all the way through, all the way down to the tips of your toes. Not just hopping like this, but actually going down and pushing off of your toes. Power comes from everything, not just from your legs. It comes from your toes also. Toes, toes, arms up. Little sit, big jump. Explosive. Notice how I leaned backwards and I went backwards. Arms up, feet together. Sit down, jump backwards. These are the startup tips for your back handspring journey. Guys, I'm gonna be honest. One of the hardest parts about a back handspring is jumping back. The first time is the most difficult. Why? Because you're jumping straight backwards over your head. I've explained this before in my backflip video. When you jump straight back to your head, obviously your body's first reaction, fetal position. If you don't know what the fetal position is, let me go ahead and demonstrate. I'm really glad that we just got that out of the way. Just know that that is the scariest part, is jumping back towards your hands. What can we do to get over that fear of jumping backwards towards certain death and just kind of get used to going backwards? Well, let me explain to you. I'm gonna give you a couple tips. They're not traditional, but just know that they can work as long as you are willing to work for them. Ready? The first way of jumping backwards towards certain death is going to be by means of a backwards cartwheel. We all know how to do a cartwheel. We start, we go, we finish, okay? We know how to do them. So what we're going to do with these cartwheels is we're going to actually start facing forward. Feet close together. If you don't want to have them super close together at first, you can spread them out a little bit. It's perfectly fine. I would prefer it if they were together. The way that we're going to do this, is we're going to sit down like we're going to do a back handspring. We're going to lean backwards, turn over our shoulder, and do a cartwheel. Let me give you an example. Second part of this, we're going to be doing the same exact thing, but instead of just doing a cartwheel, we're going to sit and jump into that cartwheel. All right, sit down and jump backwards into that cartwheel. Still doing a cartwheel, just a reverse, like a backwards cartwheel. Just a backwards cartwheel. Super weird, I know. Do it a couple times, get used to it. You might even have a six-pack by the end. I don't know. So start the same position, arms up. Sit down and jump backwards into a cartwheel. Clearly it's not the prettiest thing, but guess what? You're jumping backwards onto your hands. Isn't that what a back handspring is? All right, the third part of this, we are going to start landing with our feet together. Jump backwards for the cartwheel, bring your feet together halfway through, and land on your feet. Really, guys? A lot of people are super afraid of jumping backwards. They can't see the ground. But if you watch when I do those, I can see the ground the entire time. I'm rolling over my shoulder, looking Mother Nature dead in the eyes the entire time, telling her that she better not try any tricks. And I'm watching her the whole time, and I just land on my feet. And it's not scary at all. It gets you used to jumping back and back and back. Eventually with this trick, you just get the guts and you end up throwing a back handspring. It's been proven, I've seen it work. The kids that have done it have obviously seen it work. So if you want to go ahead and give it a go, give it a go. But Tucker, I don't have anywhere to practice. You can do these anywhere. Do you have a yard outside? Does your neighbor have a yard? Do you know where a park is? Do you know, there's churches everywhere. You can go to a church parking lot and you can practice these. Not recommended, I'd rather you do it on the grass, but hey, these you can do them anywhere. Now let me go ahead and explain to you a little bit more about once you start throwing these back handsprings, or if you're still a little bit scared to do them, let me take you on another little tidbit. Okay guys, so this is my tidbit right now. You see this? This is what I call a pit pillow. Boom. Do you know what it is? Let me step on it for you. It's a mattress. A lot of people complain to me and say, Tucker, I don't have any equipment to do a back handspring on. I don't want to just throw it on the concrete. It's like, okay. Do you know how I started? On a mattress. I would pull the mattress from my bed when my parents weren't looking, and I would take it outside. I would practice backflips on it. I would practice backflip 360s. I would practice front flips. Anything that you think or that you can name, I was practicing on there. Was I good? No, I wasn't good. So if you have a mattress at your home, this is the perfect thing to start throwing your back handspring on. Stand on that mattress. throw the back handspring. Once you throw it a couple times and you become more and more confident with it, that's when you can move on to the grass. That's when you move on to concrete. That's when you become a street performer in Vegas. You have a dream. Live that dream. Ah! Guys, thanks for watching this video. Be sure to like it and be sure to subscribe to the channel. It'll help out. I'll be able to continue to make these videos. I'm making them for people who have a dream to do something more than what everyone tells them that they are. I want you to remember that I believe in you and you should believe in you. Know that these tricks can be dangerous and that you should always attempt them if you're comfortable to do them. If you are scared out of your mind to do it, yeah, there's still a difference between bravery and stupidity. So please choose the first one. Stay tuned for future episodes. I'm gonna start teaching you how to connect the back handspring with scoots, connect the back handsprings with roundoffs, and so much more. Thanks, guys. Peace.